Hello, everyone. It's so good to be back with you all. We are continuing our conversation about intimate relationships in that unit. Make sure my sound is on. It is. So we're continuing to talk about that. And when I left you, I had shared the three attachment styles. Today, we're going to explore some of the advancements that have happened in attachment research. Just like with any type of research, as time goes on, science advances. We know more. We have better tools, and we have more data to compare. And so that's what happened in the field of attachment research. And so today I'm going to share with you a couple of studies just to kind of frame your mind around what types of things we're thinking about when we talk about attachment and to give you more of a soft landing after the long weekend. So by the end of this lesson, my hope is that you'll understand new developments in studies and attachment research, that you'll be able to explain what types of studies social psychologists are interested in when it comes to attachment, and then the task that you'll do is to develop new hypotheses based on former studies. So the ones that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to walk through four really quick studies just to kind of give you an idea of the things that social psychologists are interested in, what they're studying, and what they're looking for. So this first study was done in 2012 by Drouin and Landgraff. And in this study, they found that students, and they studied college students, that students with a secure attachment style are more likely to send regular text to a partner, whereas avoidant, fearful students are more likely to send sext messages or messages with nude photos or videos. And as you think about that, think about the connection between someone's attachment style and then the behavior that they might show, but also the behavior they might expect from someone else. Okay. So it's in this case, as I think about it, it's like maybe I would think and want to look into what are the attitudes of avoidant, fearful people when it comes to partners and potentially leaving them, right? And so maybe that by sending, nude photos or more explicit text messages, maybe by doing that they can keep them more, right? That it's a way, or if their self-esteem is really low and their body can boost that, maybe that's a way. And if they get affirmation from their partner, that can kind of help them boost for themselves. So that's one of the ways to think about that study. Um, you could also conversely look at secure students and see what causes them to send less of those explicit images. Study number two, done by Marshall, Bejanyan, Castro, and Lee in 2013, found that anxious, ambitious people, or anxious, ambivalent, not ambitious, ambivalent people, are more likely to jealously check on their partner's Facebook messages. So we kind of see a theme here, a thread. The first video we had, excuse me, the first video we had avoidant, fearful. Now we have anxious, ambivalent, engaging in behavior that we would say is not appropriate relationship behavior. Or at least people who study relationships, who study abusive relationships would say that that's not appropriate behavior. Now, the first one, not necessarily, that's a different context. But in this one specifically, we're thinking of abusive behavior where they don't have trust of the person, or they feel like they need to check because they think that the person may be talking to someone, even if they don't have any inclination from their partner. That anxious ambivalence about them causes them to fear and to worry. And we can see some of that coming from that inconsistent parenting, right? That's one of the examples. Not engaging with the room in the strange room situation. Study number three was done by McDermott and Lopez in 2013, and in this study they found that secure people are less likely to accept violence or abuse in their relationships, and they're also more likely to display emotional sensitivity and social skills. So if we think back to some of the things that helped us establish even what a secure attachment style is, part of that was, believing that they should be loved and that they're worthy of love, but not just any type of love, the right type of love. And the right type of love doesn't include violence or abusive relationships. Now, I feel it's important to always talk about how these are not universal statements. So this does not mean that people in secure relationships do not ever accept violence or abuse in their relationships, because notice the result of their study was that it was less likely, not that it never happened. Okay, so there's a chance that could still happen. However, when you have that self-confidence, that high self-esteem, high standards, and you've seen what good relationships look like, so there's the importance of parenting, again, and good role models, you're less likely to accept something like that. In addition, as you think about that last piece too, Excuse me. Oh, it's been a long day. That last piece there is we're thinking about emotional sensitivity and social skills. One of the cornerstones of a secure attachment style is consistent parents who allow you to express yourself emotionally. So when you get that practice and when you know that no matter what, you're still going to be loved despite what you say, despite what you do, it helps you build up some of those emotional skills and some of those social skills. So that's really, again, where I see this boost there. But a good question to think about is what is the opposite? So for someone who's avoidant, fearful, or anxious, ambivalent, what does that look like that's causing them to want to accept violence? Is it because they had violence before? Right? Or were their emotions and feelings kind of pushed away and not allowed to feel, so then they started to accept whatever, right? We can think about questions like that. And the last study, and ignore the bottom part 1 and 2 for just a second, let me talk about that. But the last study found that in gay couples, so this study was specifically done on gay couples, that anxious ambivalent men are less likely to require a partner to use a condom during sex. So, I bring this one up, one, because the textbook mentioned it as a key one, but two, if you think about the connection between study number 1, study number 2, and study number 3. As I look at these, I think about a thread of desire to get people to not leave, okay? And so let's remind ourselves in the second bullet of what anxious ambivalent attachment style is created from. Inconsistent parents, anxiety when parents leave, does not explore the strained situation room, low self-esteem, and high jealousy. Okay, so here's the task that you're going to do. I'm going to explain this in a minute. 1 and 2 is what I'm going to ask you to do for studies 1, 2, and 3. So what I've said is I've made a new hypothesis, and I've said that anxious ambivalent men in gay couples are less likely to require a partner to use a condom during sex in order to prevent the partner from leaving them. Okay, so that is my hypothesis. I am suggesting that we are going to study and look at, not this group, but this is just in this example, that one of the reasons why they don't make them use a condom during sex is because possibly that the attitude is that that's less pleasurable, it's not something they want to do, right, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, if you go down to number 2, we can test this study. So I'm going to say how we're going to test that. By studying the attitudes of gay men toward wearing a condom during sex. Now think back to our types of studies and think about which of those we might do. But also we could look at beliefs that men hold about whether partners will leave them if asked to wear a condom. So this is 2 things I'm thinking about. One is do gay men have an adversarial or negative attitude toward wearing a condom during sex? And then also it'd be looking at, do men leave partners if they're asked to use a condom during sex? As we look at if we get the answers from that really is going to tell us a lot about the result of this study. Okay, so it's either going to validate this study, it's going to expand this study, or it can potentially bring light to the fact that that anxious ambivalent person is just assuming that the partner would leave, right? So they're offering this, just like in the first example, offering naked photos, offering sex messages as a way to keep the person, even if that person never asked for that or said, I will leave if you do this. So part of this is really interesting, is getting you to think about how does that attachment style frame that person's mindset, frame their world outlook, even independent of what other people say or expect of them. Okay? So it's really interesting as you start to get into the mindset, because you think about these 4 kind of big studies. What else could that expand to? What else could you think about? Okay, so your task for studies 1, 2, and 3 in this slide, you're going to give me a potential new hypothesis based on that research finding. So just what I did in slide number 4, or study number 4. The second thing is you're going to tell me a potential way to test the hypothesis. So if you don't remember, just go back to slide or study number 4 and see exactly what I did, 1 and 2. I want you to do that for each of the 3 studies that I mentioned before. If you need more reference on hypothesis making one, we went over this a lot in the scientific method part of our class, and we discussed that a little bit, so you can go back to that. Okay, so enjoy. Hopefully you come up with some new exciting hypotheses and some awesome tests that we can link into, and I look forward to our next lesson on Thursday. Have a good day.